Do you all remember the Gravitas story? Some of you are old enough to remember it. Basically, it was when Dick Cheney joined the George W. Bush campaign. And what happened was everybody started talking about him having gravitas and bringing gravitas to the George W. Bush campaign. Well, let me explain what actually happened. Rush Limbaugh once joked that someone with a thesaurus and a fax machine started putting out the word to the world. And, well, I mean, sometimes that does happen. There's actually more to the story. Next slide. We know that there's a handful of major affiliates across the country. We have ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, and PBS, generally speaking. Next slide. And then you add on your cable affiliates like CNN and MSNBC, etc. Each local station buys the right to air national news stories from their affiliate, as well as stories from any other affiliate across the country. So you have your Tampa affiliate, WTSP is a CBS affiliate. They buy the right to air any CBS story across the country. And they buy the right to download a video that makes it look like it's their reporter. So it looks like they have a reporter in Los Angeles when it's not really true. So they can make it look like they have reporters from DC to Wichita and in Tampa as well. So here's where it gets tricky. Other news services, next slide, like AP and Reuters and even CNN, they also sell their content to stations as well. And those stations can subscribe to get those. Producers can download pre-prescribed packages and scripts and videos that can also make it look like the reporting belongs to the station that's airing it. So, even though it's not, most of these scripts are barely skimmed, and stations just rarely even edit the content, even though they can. This is how you end up hearing the same phrases and the same story over and over and over again. It's very rare that stations even edit words or phrases or even the background video, we call it B-roll, to make it even into a unique story. It's the rare station that even verifies the story, let alone finds out if there's an update. Local stations do some of their own groundwork for some small stories like parades, festivals, accidents, things like that. But very few national networks actually send journalists out into the field anymore. And today, most corporate journalism is actually done online, scrolling through social media, virtual interviews. They do phone calls to public information officers and for confirmation and comment and maybe some FOIAs. Maybe they do some source work. But here's a case in point. How many Anderson Cooper types did you see on the ground in Asheville? I didn't see one. Now, I saw some alternative media people, but I did not see any of the national news people on the ground in Asheville. But if you looked on social media, they were all over the place telling Elon Musk that his story that his helicopters were grounded were false. That was all over the place, wasn't it? You can go to the next slide. Now that you have a little bit of background on how lazy journalism has actually become, I'm going to give you some action items that you can do, especially if you have a modern smartphone. Most of us do. Modern technology, it's a powerful megaphone in your pocket. And many say it's evil incarnate, but we can redeem that. So we're going to start with social media. It has become our public square. It is the easiest way to reach thousands of people in a small, short amount of time. It is not the best way. The best way is face-to-face, like what we're doing here, but it is the easiest. Facebook is still the global leader in social media. It garners 66% of the global market share and 68% of the American market share. It's great for staying connected with friends and family, hosting events and selling items. I mean, you can make long posts, but people generally just scroll right past things. So you're not going to read much in deep, philosophical type of text. And they have been manipulating the algorithm. Lately, I've noticed a lot of advertisements and groups that I do not belong peppered in, and it's really interesting. And when you get on Facebook, I mean, let's be honest, they have done a lot of election manipulation, and I've even seen some videos of recently where they are suppressing election information regarding Trump. So when you go on there, just understand what they're doing so you can be aware at least. But I wouldn't tell you to stop. I would say keep going. After January 6th, conservatives, they did scatter across platforms, and we saw a host of new apps pop up. It's been an interesting study as to where they've actually settled. So, but now that we're nearly 4 years out, Getter and Truth Social really they seem to be the two alternatives where most people have settled. But the statistics are very minimal, truly, as to the global market share or the American market share. So a lot of conservatives were kicked off X. I do habitually still call it Twitter, so forgive me if I still do that. Once Elon took over, a lot of people have been migrating back, and even at that point, a lot of the liberals, they got off, but they are migrating back because that's where your movers and shakers are. With Twitter or X, it does only garner 23% of the American market share. But like I said, this is where you're going to find your influencers. This is where you're going to find your government offices, your media, your organizations, your politicians, and other people populate it. In 2021, there were over 200 million tweets that were sent globally. Per day. And the posts on the platform, they're generally shorter. This is what I call this the boxing ring. This is where you go in, you give your jabs, and you move on. So those are just a couple of the platforms that I use. There's a few others that are out there that a lot of people like. Instagram is very popular. It has the youngest audience, and it has the fastest growing audience. However, it is owned by Facebook. It's an incestuous bunch. So if you do choose a social media platform, understand that if it is not a conservative platform, it's probably owned by Google, Microsoft, Meta, or one of the others. And then we have Getter and Truth Social as well. What I recommend is that you can go to the next one. What I recommend is for you guys, pick a platform, maybe two, but don't overwhelm yourself. If you're going to start putting truth out there, do not overwhelm yourself to go to more than a couple, because you'll be on your phone all day long, and that limits your personal interactions, and that's more important. Learn the platform, learn it well, build your audience, and engage with them. But like I said, doing more than just a select few will run you ragged. And in my opinion, like I said, personal interaction is way more important than electronic engagement. So there's a lot you can do to become a citizen journalist using social media and a smartphone. Choose your platform. Follow credible sources. What are credible sources? They are going to be people who aren't pushing things that sound really crazy or things you can't verify. If you can verify it, it doesn't matter if somebody calls it a conspiracy theory. How do you verify it? You verify it by going to primary sources, things along those lines. These are just a few of the people that I follow. Cat Turd is one of them. He is Florida based. So he does tend to break a few Florida stories. Technofog, he was working the Russia story like you would not believe. Libs of TikTok, this is just an example of one of the recent things that Libs of TikTok broke. Vigilant Fox, Jack Posobiec, Robbie Starbuck. These are just some of the alternative media sources that are out there. These are just a few. I am leaving off, I cannot tell you how many, but these are some of the ones that if I'm looking for what's going on out there, I will go to some of these people here and see what they're saying about it. Next slide. Okay, here's another thing you can do. When you're reading a news story, look for the buried lead. Do you know what a lead is? A lead is what the story is about, but the buried lead is what they're really telling you. All right, this is a story, and it has to do with the gangs that are going into these apartment complexes around the country. It's very, very dangerous. These poor people are living their worst nightmare. But what's the buried lead? Down here, this is my Twitter here. The buried lead is that the apartment complexes is what the WEF and the UN and HUD now want you to live in. That's the buried lead. This is the life that the government wants for everybody, not just these select people. So those are things you can do where you're going through and you're looking at different pieces of news and you realize, I need to let people know this. So when you're going through and you're looking at, building your audience, avoid clickbait. Clickbait is anything that they're just trying to help build their interactions. Rob Reiner says he's leaving the country if Trump wins. What do you think of that? That's clickbait. What do you say to Rob Reiner? That kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. Surveys, are you voting for Trump? Those things, all they're doing is just trying to build their interactions and trying to go viral. Viral means that there is no one set definition for viral, but it's basically something that gets reposted and consistently is interacted with. Spam and porn is there. Look at people you're following, look at their profile. If they are following 1,000 people but only have 50, they're probably a bot or they are going to end up DMing you some porn. It happens. The other one, it's a really good tell, is if they have a picture of a woman in a bathing suit. Okay? Don't follow back. It really doesn't hurt you to have them following, but it's up to you whether or not you allow them and you don't block them. I do not allow DMs. Once they start direct messaging me, I block them, or I just leave the conversation and I mute them. Don't block if you can. Mute them, because blocking tells them that you blocked them, and I don't like to give them the satisfaction. So when in doubt, don't share it. Just bookmark it, come back to it. Verify it if you can. Repost things that you are interested in or you want other people to know. You can reply to things, and you can quote post. Quote posting for X means that you're reposting it, but you're putting in commentary first. Mock the libs. They hate it. They don't understand it and they hate it. I use GIFs all the time. My personal favorite is with the Princess Bride. You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. Oh my gosh, they go berserk. Use memes. Use satire. Again, I said don't mute, don't block. When you are going and you are wanting to reply to something, tag the appropriate people. Tagging is using the ampersand sign and their handle. It alerts them. So, for instance, Scott Presler was having some issues with the Secretary of Elections in Pennsylvania. He didn't tag them. I did in a reply. So that Secretary of Elections, next thing you know, is fixing the problem. Hashtags, they are like a file folder. So it's like a subject matter type of thing. So if you are, for instance, I will use hashtag shame on you if a politician is doing something really awful. Well, that basically collects everybody who's using that shame on you into one pile so that it can trend. And sometimes the same subject does trend, but it basically collects them into what I consider like a file folder. Okay, and community notes on X is an excellent way for people to add context to tweets that are out there. And those types of things, here's an example. Yeah, don't stop there. Use your phone. Take videos. You can post videos to any social media account. If something looks wrong, something doesn't look right to you in any way, post that video and tag the appropriate people in it. You can break your own news. These are these are sites where you can actually go and read your own. They declassify documents all the time, and there's people out there who don't read them. And if you can stomach it, watch C-SPAN. It's great. And this is my name and my email address. If you have any questions, I have a lot of different resources that can help you, and you can become your own journalist.